Yep, it's live.
Okay, awesome. It hasn't started on my phone. I've opened YouTube on that. Is it
Okay.
working at your end?
I'll just check with it. It says it's live on the uh one sec. Oh yeah, it is live on my phone.
Okay, cool. So I just start
Yep, we
just
can start.
muting.
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, will you be muting yourself? Yeah, okay, awesome. So we're the team of Fast Crossing Forests, and we wanted to do something which was we wanted to do something with the Think Wildlife Foundation, and we want to talk about linear intrusions and wild landscapes and look at a few case studies, the Pench Kanha case study and the Samruddhi Expressway case study in particular. So, just to introduce ourselves, Fast Crossing Forest is a short film which has an impact campaign which looks at wildlife roadkills, linear intrusions, and just speaks to the different stakeholders that are affected by this issue. And we've interacted with and worked with the forest department. We've worked with the locals. We've spoken to people who've been involved in the construction of it, and just seen the process of how NH7 and the underpasses were made on that highway. So let's just start. And since this is live stream, I'm not sure if I will be able to see your questions, but there is a contact. There's a We've shared contact information at the end, so you could maybe reach out with that if you have any questions. Otherwise, we're available on Instagram with at akansha.13 and fast.crossingforests. Trigger warning before we begin. Since this is a graphic topic and you might see some wildlife roadkill, the images can be a little disturbing. So, like I mentioned here, you can turn your face away from the image, but we hope you won't turn your face away from this problem because it's always easy to get funding for charismatic animals. It's always easy to get attention for the pretty looking tigers or species which have a human like face compared to maybe marine animals or insects or a topic like roadkill. So, just a little trigger warning that some of the images might be a little disturbing. There are these videos. Let me know if you can't hear anything. I will just play them. So this video just, I don't know, could you see it and hear it, Anish?
Yep. I could
Okay,
hear it's also
okay,
live on YouTube. So.
okay, yeah. So if you could see the slot there, we sometimes don't understand or realize that these bushes, this sort of vegetation would have some species waiting. We're so ignorant to it um, because we just look at the scenic routes and we don't realize that there could be a tiger, there could be a sloth there could be a herd. Herd is obviously easier to spot, but we tend to ignore these animals, leopards mostly, and it's really easy to spot the bigger animals if there was a snake or if one of the smaller animals was there. They tend to become victims of roadkill far more easier than these bigger animals. The next video that I'm going to play right now is a very recent case, I think Jan Feb of this year, where they found 12 black bucks in Solapur or Sholapur district of Maharashtra, where this was one of their routes, and now there was a highway, so they tried to jump from this road that you can see in the video, and the whole herd was killed. It's just a repeat of the same type. It's just a repeat of this video, so I will not play it for longer. But it just makes you realize how these animals biologically have these certain migratory routes, or certain routes that they follow individually or with their herd, and it can create a problem if we don't have proper mitigation measures, if we don't make underpasses and overpasses so they can cross through these regions. And this is still a small number, and it's still impactful because we look at so many animals together. But if you look at statistics, which I will share later, animal wildlife roadkill is a very serious problem. Human roadkill is a very serious problem. Domestic animal roadkill is a very serious problem, but wildlife is something. This is very much a human generated problem, because for wildlife, because we tend to make these linear infrastructure through protected areas, and we're not even mindful of how it might affect them. We're not as mindful as we should be. Some regions, of course, are, but that also takes a lot of law mitigation, lot of NGOs, lot of um, people working together to make it happen. If you can look at this image, it talks about the road connectivity, leopard movement, and the road terrestrial connectivity, leopard movement, and the road connectivity in India. You can see it tends to overlap. The road connectivity tends to overlap with the leopard movement and terrestrial connectivity. And the blue is supposed to be the road network, and there is hardly any space left. You can see how small the green part looks compared to that, and how we're just um, increasing the number of roads passing through protected areas almost every day. And it's seen as a sign of development of the nation, which of course it is. And we shouldn't, and I'm not trying to say that we should not develop, we should not create accessibility for regions, for villages. It obviously helps, but once you create a road through a forest, you open it up to things like poaching, like traffic, like wildlife roadkill, um, and all those other conservation problems. Okay. India has the second largest road network in the world, spanning a total of 5.89 million kilometers. Over the last 1 year, India has added more than 13,000 kilometers of highways to its already dense road network, which is at about 33.7 kilometer per day. And if you see these statistics, if you look at also, and more than 70% of the protected areas have linear infrastructure passing through them. If you look at the rate of clearances that were happening before 2014, or before 10 years ago in general, it would take at least 3 months to 3 years, or even longer for clearance. It would take years for clearances to happen, and now it's happening in less than 3 months. And different factors are in play, different organizations are working together, and um, I don't want to name anybody, but the boards that are supposed to be doing the work that they are not doing it with the seriousness that they should, and they're looking at it's a very biased opinion. Like, if we remember, the minister of environment was also a minister of some other department last time. I don't want to take any names, but and which side they would choose. They would always choose the side that makes them more money. In Maharashtra, one leopard is dying every 2 days. Since I cannot see how many of you are live or whenever you would watch this, we do not realize that leopards have the highest mortality rate in big animals in wildlife roadkill. When we were researching this topic, um, we thought it would be, I mean, obviously, dogs and cats are there in domestic animals and every other animal that lives in human vicinity or closer to human settlements is affected. But leopards are known to be very close to human settlements because they like consuming dogs, and it's easier for them to catch dogs because they're tied, they're outdoors, or wherever there are humans, you will find dogs. So, and we're also encroaching on their land more and more each day, and the distance between um, these ecosystems and our settlements is reducing every day. So if you can see these headlines, these are over the last 2 years, I think. Um, there are around 80 to 90 leopards dying easily. That's still documented. I'm sure there are a lot more every year due to wildlife roadkills. And leopard is not something which is a small animal. It's very agile. It's a very adaptable creature. It is it is known. It's very elusive as well, but it tends to get closer and closer to human settlements because of the reasons I've mentioned before, and the points where they would cross their forests have been converted into these highways and roads and different sort of linear intrusions, which makes it harder for them to cross. If you can imagine that you're in your house and you want to go to your kitchen to get food or to get water, and there is like this whole there's somebody blocking that route, it's going to be difficult for you, right? And you know that this is the location where I have my resources, this is the location where I can find my mate, or where there's a water hole, or I can find food in that region, and then it's suddenly blocked. And if you've seen the scale of the highways recently, they're easily 4 lane, and then you realize how difficult it is. Even, I mean, forget about us. Forget about leopards. Just think about us. We cannot cross it even in a car. It's so difficult. Crossing it on foot is just out of the question. So a leopard which might not have that sort of sense of direction, I mean, I'm not underestimating them, but I'm sure it's very difficult for them to cross these landscapes, and we should do better in terms of mitigation. Yeah, I should have given a trigger warning for this. I'm sorry. But these are some images of wildlife roadkills, and if you can see in the one on the bottom left, you can see that it's a baby deer. There's a nightjar, there is a deer, there is a wolf, and almost every animal is affected by wildlife roadkills. More so the ones who migrate, and those that live near human settlements. Possible solutions: underpasses and overpasses. Obviously, the most obvious solution. We cannot say do not develop a certain area, do not increase your highways, because firstly, the departments won't listen. Secondly, because it is important for some communities, for some industries, that those routes evolve. Um, when I was researching for this project, I also realized there's a very nice short film, 14-minute short film on wildlife roadkills of and underpasses of Texas, which you should check out. I think it's available on YouTube. But one of the solutions that they mentioned there, and we found out through our research, was that you could create bypass roads, meaning it would be like a 2-3 kilometer extra, which is through the city and through the road networks. You make an overbridge, or you figure out some other bypass road, and you don't disturb the forest area. You just stick with um, routes that are closer to the city or within city limits, so you're not bothering or changing the landscape for the ecosystem around it. Third is speed limit monitoring in wildlife area and strict fines. Speed limit monitoring, you would see boards where they've written go slow, but I think we could do a lot better with the monitoring for it. I'm not sure which department would be picking this up. Would it be the forest department, or would it be the traffic department, or it's a collaborative process? I'm not sure how it works. I'm sure it's different in different regions and states of India and the world. But we could do better monitoring and have stricter fines, proper reporting and documentation system. There are certain apps. There was this roadkill app which was created in, I think, 2018, and I understand there are funding issues and other factors that affect these citizen science initiatives, but that just doesn't work anymore. There is another organization in Goa which has created an app. It's not taken up, no one has taken it up in the seriousness, with the seriousness that it deserves, not disregarding the work that's been done, obviously, but I think we could do better with the documentation. So we can identify the regions we need to work on, which need better regulation, better mitigation measures, where we can. I mean, it's very ambitious for us to think that, all the highways that exist would have underpasses and overpasses. We can expect that in majority of the ones moving forward, especially the ones that are passing through forests and eco-sensitive zones, ESZ, which is the eco-sensitive zone. But for that, again, you need qualitative, quantitative, and qualitative research, where you can do focused, you can make you can take focused measured measures for, and it would be much more impactful than just saying let's figure this issue out for a larger scale. We can just focus on problem areas and geographies where the crossing is a lot more, and work with them, because that's obviously much more realistic. Accessible web services and rapid response for roadkills. I have seen the desensitization that we have towards wildlife roadkill. We don't realize it, and sometimes the animals are injured and they bleed to their death. If they would have gotten medical assistance, or somebody would have helped them when after the impact, vehicular impact, they would have still survived. But it's like, I mean, I also know that sometimes that injury is beyond, like, vets cannot do anything, because it creates brain hemorrhage and whatever. It depends on the impact. A lot of factors affect that. But I think if you have proper emergency vet services available and rapid response for roadkills for humans, and for wildlife, especially protected wildlife, or if it's a region which is a tiger corridor or a elephant corridor, and we know that important so-called important protected species move around in this area, which are less in number, we should have better services in those areas. So, like I mentioned, we spoke to different stakeholders. This is the ACF of Bench MP. We spoke to him about NH7, which is one of the first highways, which was NH44, which became NH7, which was reconstructed as having a wildlife underpass that you can see on the left. They have acoustically sealed it, so the traffic sound is, you can't hear the traffic below the bridge. They've made it camouflage color, so it feels like the forest for the animals, and the ACF will talk about it more. But yeah, this is one of the first projects. But how it came about was, this is near the Pench Kanha corridor, which is also what the case study we've picked up in our film. And that was lot of NGOs had to get involved, and a Supreme Court order had to come in place, because it is the Tiger Corridor, for this particular underpass. And then um, the authorities, National Highway Authority or other responsible authorities, took it up and created these. But moving forward, this can be taken as a case study, and we can implement it in other places. Sorry, it's muted. Just a second.
फिर जो है मीटिंग हुई जो हमारे यहाँ से 20 NH7 का जो ये नेशनल हाईवे गुजरा है उसके लिए मिटिगेशन के लिए काफ़ी जो है मीटिंग हुई और सभी के जो व्यू लिए गए थे। इसमें जो हमारे ये रोड बना है उसमें 14 अंडर पासेज दिए गए हैं और एनिमल जहाँ जहाँ से क्रॉस ज़्यादा करते थे वहीं वहीं पे हमने अंडर पासेज दिया है कि जिससे हमारा एनिमल हमेशा वहाँ से निकलता जाए। इसमें 30 मीटर से लेके 1400 मीटर लंबाई तक के अंडर पासेज दिए गए हैं और जिनकी हाइट जो ग्राउंड लेवल से 5 मीटर का है। अगर कभी एलिफेंट को भी जाना पड़े तो जा सकता है जो।
So they've created different heights at different locations, and like they've mentioned, even the elephant can cross um, from these underpasses.
जो हमारे
How can we help? This is a policy issue. There is not as much we can do individually as we can if we help create awareness, make this an important issue that's discussed, and there is more accountability. You can sign petitions, you can raise your voice. Of course, petitions always work. You can talk to other governments, other state governments, and tell them, hey, this is what MP has done. This is what's happening with NH7. It's not, you can try. It's easier to convince people with a standard example and say, hey, this is already done somewhere, and maybe we can work on something similar or develop it even further or make it better. So we have that example already for us instead of starting from scratch. So we can sign petitions, we should raise our voice, we should talk about um, leopards dying because of wildlife roadkill is not a natural um, problem, shouldn't be a natural problem for them for their numbers to decline. We shouldn't have to wait till they're in the thousands to create another project to protect them. We should be mindful of not only leopards, because I'm just saying that because their mortality rate is the highest according to the documented numbers. But it is important that we are mindful of these things moving forward, because I don't think the number or extent of construction is going to stop anytime soon. And demanding accountability and change, accountability from national highway authorities, accountabilities from tiger projects, from NGOs, from anybody who's working on it, anyone who's working in those areas, and slowing down for wildlife. Whenever wildlife or any animal or any human for that matter, being mindful when you drive, seeing those boards, um, and just being aware that you are in an area where you might see wildlife, and slowing down and stopping for them. And if in case unfortunately you are involved in a wildlife roadkill, you should be sensitive enough to make sure that they have medical aid, or you give them water, or you inform the authorities like the forest department or whatever department you have access to, or get numbers, and just be a little mindful of those things. Yeah, being mindful about animals while driving, provide medical aid and report to the department in case you come across a roadkill. Sometimes there's a hit and run case and people just go away and you're the next car after that. So it is your responsibility even then. You can document it. You can say, hey, this is the picture. This is a roadkill that I found in our mentality sometimes is that if I go and complain, they will think that I did it. That is not the mindset we should be having. You can document this and you can say, hey, this is what I saw. This is the vehicle uh, before me did this, or whatever your situation circumstance is. But if you are involved in it, or if you see any other roadkill, it is important that you inform the department. This is a little trailer of our film. No, this is this later. Okay, this is another video which uh, which shows us how inconvenient it is because of our roads, how inconvenient it is for these animals, and how problematic it can be for them to cross and go across these ecosystems because of our linear intrusions. This is a trailer of our film called Past Crossing Forest, which is on the same topic.
Sir, in one of your interviews, you had said that, and I quote, you cannot teach leopards how to behave, but you can teach humans how to behave. That human animal conflict happens not because of the leopards, but it happens because of the humans. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, certainly. See, all these negative interactions are happening only because we have entered into the territory of the leopards. Earlier, this area used to be forest area, nicely covered, good vegetation. Now, wherever leopard used to stay or animal used to stay, now everywhere human has entered. You can see the example of Sanjay Gandhi National Park.
In India, to my knowledge, every year more than 3 lakh people get dead on road accidents. accidents. See, you can't expect an elephant died in road accident by driving a car, or you don't expect to read a news a tiger got dead while driving a truck and collided with another truck which was driven by some leopard and that kind of thing. Okay, so they also use the road some way or other. They try to avoid as much as, but imagine a country where a person bangs a human crossing the road and run away. Do you expect this country's people will stop or care for some other animal crossing the road? The entire reason of this film, where we are working, you and me and your team, is about our attitude. Nothing that is what that is what has to be highlighted.
हाँ ठीक है नहीं दिख रहा ना
Awesome. That was it from my side. If you have any questions, you can reach out on this email ID. And we are working on an impact campaign where we're trying to create petitions, create awareness through workshops, interactions, webinars like this, and just talk about this topic and create awareness with as many people as we can and as many stakeholders as we can and get their opinions and try to understand this whole conservation issue with the sensitivity that it requires. Um, Everybody is always welcome. The more the merrier, as you already know, and you can reach out to us. And thank you so much for hosting this and this opportunity. If you have any questions, you can write to us, either of us. Thank you.
Give me a second. I figured how to end the live stream.
Should I stop screen sharing?